What do Russian Christians eat? Naturally, Russian Christians are people, like you and me, or anybody else. However, their different faith traditions, regulations, and beliefs often impact what, how, and when they eat or drink. The Bible and different written and unwritten traditions of faith contain many rules, prohibitions, and recommendations about food and drink. Christian traditions have many different feasts and rituals with food and drink, but also prohibitions and fasting. Even the Holy Communion, a sacrament shared by practically all Christian churches and groups, is centered around eating and drinking. Different schools of theology interpret the Lord's Supper differently. Some say bread and wine are simply symbols of Jesus' body and blood, and some believe that during the liturgy they actually become his body and blood. The early Christians did not just symbolically consume small amounts of bread and wine, but had an actual feast in remembrance of Jesus' sacrifice. Another thing that is probably common for all practicing Christians is praying before meals. Some simply cross themselves before eating, and some read a prayer, either aloud for the whole table and everyone present, or individually in silence. In some traditions, it is also a custom to briefly thank God after the meal. In monasteries, meals are not just strictly scheduled but also ritualized. Certain prayers are read, the hierarchical order of sitting and distributing meals is observed, and during the meal, one of the monks or nuns reads from the lives of saints to set the prayerful tone. This monk would later eat with the ones who served the brethren during the main meal. Now, let's look at different churches and communities one by one and discuss what food regulations, prohibitions, and customs they observe. The Russian Orthodox Church has a rich tradition when it comes to many aspects of life, including food and drink. There are different stages and hierarchies. For instance, laymen have different limitations than monks. Monks, in turn, also have different levels of severity of their asceticism. Most monks, apart from fasting periods common for all observing Orthodox Christians, also fast every Wednesday and Friday, commemorating Judas's betrayal and the passions of Christ. Monastics of the higher level, schema monks and schema nuns, fast even more severely. As I have already said, Orthodox monasteries have strict regulations when it comes to food and drinks. Apart from frequent fasting, monks do not eat meat. They do it not for the animal's sake, but because it is believed that eating meat allows for too many worldly temptations and passions. According to the common interpretation of the book of Genesis, the first man, Adam, did not eat meat until his fall into sin. Orthodox Christianity in general has a regulated calendar of fasting. Apart from monastics, married clergy and laymen are also expected to fast, though not as much. This topic alone deserves a separate video, but I will just mention the very basics. In the Orthodox tradition, fasting is not only abstaining from food, but also reducing it to certain basic products. This way, believers can observe some longer fasts, like the Great Lent that lasts for 40 days before Easter, commemorating Jesus' fasting in the wilderness. Every day of the Lent, and even weeks before it, is regulated. Depending on the week and the particular day, one can eat fish, a simple boiled meal, an uncooked meal, only bread and water, or nothing at all. On Easter, the fast is finally broken and believers have a feast. There is a rich tradition of Easter cuisine that is popular even among those who do not observe the Great Lent, and even among non-believers. The most popular things are Easter cakes, kulichi, Pascha made of cottage cheese, and painted eggs. Family members break eggs with each other. Apart from the Great Lent, there are 3 other important fasts: the Nativity fast before Christmas, the Apostles' fast in summer, and the fast before the day of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. There are additional occasions such as life events, preparation for a sacrament or ministry, or spiritual battles that could be accompanied by fasting. Having said all that, it is important to remember that most Russian Orthodox believers are not strict observers of the church tradition. Only the devoted minority ever engages in fasting, and even those do it to a different degree. There are many stereotypes and misunderstandings around fasting in Russia. For example, lean cuts of beef are often called postные, meaning suitable for fasting, which is a contradiction in terms. When it comes to alcohol, the Orthodox tradition allows it in moderation. Prince Vladimir the Great, the baptizer of the ancient Rus, is quoted in chronicles as rejecting Islam for the prohibition of alcohol. He said that Russians love to drink because it is fun. Naturally, he chose Eastern Christianity for political reasons, but the legend demonstrates the attitude of Orthodox Christianity towards drinking. Even though alcoholism has been historically a plague for Russian people, moderate and appropriate consumption of alcohol is permitted. Old believers, who are also Orthodox Christians but adherent to the pre-17th century church tradition, have similar attitudes towards food and drink. Some observe certain Old Testament rules about unclean animals more strictly, and some communities practice ritual cleanliness of dishes. For example, despite being very hospitable, they assign separate dishes and utensils for guests of other faiths, and having traveled themselves, go through a certain ritual and time period to become clean again. Now, what about minority Christians? They have their own specific rules and prohibitions when it comes to food and drink. The most restrictive are Seventh-day Adventists. Even their name points to an observance of certain Old Testament practices, which they believe are still valid, like the observance of Saturday, not Sunday. When it comes to prohibitions, usually church leadership claims that those are recommendations, but most believers obey them. First, Adventists abstain from coffee, tea, soda, and other stimulating drinks. Needless to say, alcohol and tobacco, and also drugs, too. They generally avoid anything with an addictive effect. Next, most believers try to observe Old Testament prohibitions, although they distinguish them from Jewish traditions. For example, they avoid certain meats like pork and hare, any strangled animal, blood, and other unclean animals. At the same time, they do not separate milk and meat, considering it a Jewish custom, not binding for Christians. Most Adventists, however, lean towards vegetarian diets. They believe that was how Adam and Eve ate before the fall. In general, they strive for health-based diets, which they believe include less sugar and fat. When it comes to Russian Baptists, they do not have too much specificity when it comes to food. They practice fasting, but unlike Orthodox Christians, they fast for short periods, maybe a day or less, and they do it when they need to concentrate on prayer, for example, before making a serious decision or engaging in a spiritual battle. When it comes to alcohol, they usually abstain from it. Many Baptist communities have active rehabilitation ministries for people with addictions, and consuming alcohol in any quantity is a serious issue for them. Some churches, though not all, even have grape juice for the Lord's Supper instead of wine. When it comes to the Bible, where wine is clearly normalized and even Jesus drank it regularly, some preachers explain that in that historical context, wine was mostly used to disinfect poor quality water and was never consumed pure, apart from drunkards. Most Christian communities observe the prohibition of blood consumption, but Jehovah's Witnesses are most notorious for that. They not only abstain from eating anything with blood, but also reject blood transfusions, which has led to many scandals and court cases. Fortunately, there are many synthetic substitutes available for most medical issues. There are many other rich religious traditions in Russia, Christian or not. Most of them have their own rules and regulations when it comes to food and drink. Islam alone is a fascinating culture of food cleanliness, proper ways to slaughter, prepare and cook meat, and fasting. All people need to eat every day. Apart from physiological, food and drink also have an important social and ritual function. We do not always eat healthily, but the cultural, political and religious significance of what we eat and drink is always important. Please like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all next time.